Okay, so we started the Maven build tool yesterday, and I talked something about the Maven by comparing with the Ant and what are all the advantages, okay, and how Maven is structured, okay, and how Maven directory structure looks like, what are the benefits of it, and who wrote it, and we set up the installation part as well, okay, and we are looking into the Maven lifecycle part, okay. So in Maven, right, most of the stuff is taken care by the life cycle. You don't need to write any script to perform your activities. Okay. So the Maven standard life cycle support mostly like in the Maven supports only the Java platform. Okay, not any other programming language, right? So it supports the 3 life cycles. Okay. Yeah. Any questions, Mahendra? Okay.
No, boss.
Yeah. So it supports 3 life cycles. One is a default, one is a clean, one is a site. Okay. And the most of the lifecycle actions are defined in the default. Okay, so the default contains again some phases. Okay, so each and every phase has its own some set of responsibilities, and that it will do it as part of when you execute the phase. And when Maven phases, right, typically when you call a phase, it will execute all its earlier phases as well. Okay, and how it is executing we seen yesterday. And there are 7 important phases. You might be thinking there are only 7 phases. No, there are more than 14 phases, guys. Okay, if you really wanted to know what are all those phases, you just try to Google it. Okay, Maven default lifecycle phases. Okay, so there are many are there actually. Introduction, build life cycles. So site, default, clean are the 3 life cycles. Okay, but if you look into the default life cycle, okay, I told you, right, validate, compile, test, package, verify stuff. These are the important phases. Okay, but apart from that there are few other phases are there. You can find in document somewhere. See, some phases are not usually called from the command line, like pre, post process. So these are also phases. Okay, suppose think about compile. There is another phase called pre-compile, post-compile. Okay, pre-test, post-test. So we don't consider them to call from our command line. We just call only these things. Okay, so the first one is validate, guys, not verify. It's validate. Sorry, validate is correct. Okay, validate, compile, package, and all. Right, so and we have seen example of how the first 4 or 5 phases works. Install and deploy, I didn't talk about it. Okay, now let's first of all explore the do you want this to be there in the notes? I don't think it is required. Okay, pom.xml. So let's explore what is this pom.xml. Okay, and what are all the elements it contains. Okay, and how it is defined. Look at this. Typically the pom.xml. Okay, this is what your build script or build instruction file. Okay, build script for Maven. Okay, so this contains, okay, the first section contains coordinates. Okay, this is a comment, guys. The first section we call as a coordinates. Okay, now in this section actually it contains artifact. Okay, first it starts with project. Okay, and ends with project. Remember, guys, it starts with project and ends with project, and within the project it has 2 sections. One is this section. Okay, and the first section we call it as a coordinate section. Okay, let me try to write down this over here. This section we call it as a coordinate section, and here it contains 4 important tags. Okay, one is artifact ID. Okay, okay, and other is group ID. Okay, and other is version another one is package. Okay, so there are few more other coordinates are there, like I said in a phases, right? 7 important phases, there are few more are there. Similarly, even in the coordinates there are few more are there, but these 4 are the really important when you are writing your Maven format XML. Okay, so artifact ID is nothing but what is exactly the binary you are trying to generate with this project. Okay, so I wanted to generate hello world.jar file. So my name of my artifact here, hello world. Okay, now what exactly group ID mean? See, when you're preparing some binaries, right, they are belongs to some other main project. Okay, so typically we provide the Maven grouping structure, like com dot your company name dot, like uh, Infosys dot, okay, services dot blah blah blah. Okay, under services you have like 20 services. Okay, so one service is hello world. So hello world you don't write it here. So hello world you write it over here, the actual service name, and this is what its parents, right? So we call as a group ID. So nothing but the hello world belongs to com dots. I'm just saying like my company, com dot my company dot hello world is your actual module name. Okay, and com dot my company is my parent, and version. So when you're building this code, right, okay, first time you build it, second time you build it, okay, whenever you're deploying it to some servers, right, you should give some versioning. In Ant we didn't follow any versioning, guys, but in Maven we have to follow the versioning for binaries. You might be thinking, why do we need versioning for binaries? Yes, we need it. The reason, if you deployed one version of the hello world in your production server, next time you deploy this another hello world, how do you differentiate the difference between both of them? Okay, how do you find out like which version is there in your server, which version you deployed last time? Okay, that's the reason the versioning is most important. So let's give 1.0 as version, right? You can give any version, so some version is mandatory. And a package, when it comes to the packaging part, right, now again, what type of a binary it is? I told you like it supports only the Java binaries. Okay, there are only jar, var, these types of binaries. So it is a jar nothing but standalone application, so it will create a jar files. That's it, guys. You are mentioning what exactly it is, how to get it, it will take care of it. Okay, and these we call as the coordinates. Now the most of stuff is done. So in coordinates you mention what exactly you're trying to build. Now you're trying to say what, okay, but how is taken care by your Maven. So you're not saying like how to build and all, you're just saying what do you want. That's it. Okay, and some minimum info. Okay, minimum info nothing but like you may need your application name and all, right? So that's what you're providing. Okay, so if you look at the hello world my company one, there's a minimum info it is required for Maven to like process your request. So you provide this. So this is what your first section, and this section we call as the coordinates in your form.xml. Okay, so next, after coordinates is done, the next there is another section called dependencies. So what exactly dependencies is? So I told you, if you remember the Ant session, we talked about one web application which has some dependent libraries. Okay, so those dependent libraries in Ant source code, they are part of the source code, but when it comes to the Maven, right, you don't keep the binaries with you. Okay, but at build time, at runtime, nothing but when you trigger the build, right, you're asking your Maven to download those dependencies from the Apache Maven repository. Okay, so whenever you're running a Maven, right, if it has some dependencies, you just mention those dependencies under the dependencies tag. Okay, so the plural first tag is the dependencies. Under this you can have n number of dependencies. See, first one dependency. Okay, this is one dependency, and what exactly the dependency name? Again, even the dependencies things also. Okay, suppose you depend on some this type of, see, JUnit underscore 1.8 dot jar. So this is what the jar you depends on. Now look at this. The dependency artifact will be having an ID which is JUnit. Okay, right? So this is what your JUnit, your artifact name, and what is the version? 1.8. Okay, and you can mention the version, artifact version as well, 1.0. Okay, right? And you need to mention group ID as well, right? So what is a group ID? So typically group ID you can find it from the artifact. Actually group ID is org.apache, something like that. You just go to the JUnit site, you can find the group ID as well. Okay, group ID, right? That's it, guys. Your dependency is done. Now if you provide these details, your Maven will connect to the Apache Maven repository and try to download this jar file and keep it in your local repository location, and it makes use at the time of compilation. This is one dependency. So similarly, you can have n number of dependencies. Okay, so suppose your project requires 10 jar files, so you need to write this kind of 10 tags. So you are mentioning what do you want, how to download, how to make use it at runtime or build time and all, taken care by Maven. So here also you are saying what information, what do you want? I want JUnits. That's it. You're just mentioning what information in your Power Exam, nothing else. Okay, so this is what your second section, guys. Okay, so similarly there is one more section is there, okay, which is a build section. Okay, and another section is there which is a repository section. Okay, right, so these are the four important sections available in your Maven. The first two are the most important one. See, in most of the projects you may find build section, report section, you may not find it, but these two you definitely find it. I'll explain the build and the report section later. Let's try to understand this. Now we'll try to create a project. I think we already created a project yesterday. Okay, let me look at that first. Maven practice. Yeah, hello world is the one which we created. Okay, let's try to open this format XML and review it, guys. This is automatically created, right? Okay, let me explain you. Is it starting with your project tag, the main tag, project tag? Don't worry about this thing. These are automatically created. Whether you keep it or don't keep it doesn't matter. Okay, it's a standard, just it applies. Okay, and there is one more tag, guys, model version. So this is introduced in your Maven 3.3. Earlier it is not there actually. Okay, model version is nothing but what version of Format XML you are using. Okay, so Maven also defined versions to your Format XML. Right now for Maven 3.0 version, we need to use the model version as a 4.0, guys. Okay, this won't change, it's a standard, just 4.0. Okay, just keep that. Now apart from that, as I said, 4 parameters. Did you see my inputs here, what I explained? There are 4 parameters or 4 coordinates, 4 attributes. So these we call as the coordinates. Okay, and can you see those coordinates? Artifact ID, what is your jar name you want to create? Hello world. Okay, and your group ID, what is your the parent name? It's a comrade. And guys, you can write first and second, this doesn't matter, like you can write it anyway. Okay, so no issues at all. You can first write a group ID, artifact ID later, version later. Okay, and version, so you can give any version over here. So this guy is given 1.0 snapshot. Okay, and packaging, what type of binary you are going to create, jar. Okay, and I told you there are a few more coordinates like your name, UR and all. It's up to you whether you want to provide them or not. Okay, if you don't want, you can just remove it. It's just for information purpose, those are. And properties also. Okay, property is just a variable, guys, that's it. Like in ant we have properties, right? So something like that. This is also not required. And the second section is the dependencies. Can you see dependencies? Under dependencies, this hello world requires JUnit jar file. Okay, so under dependencies, I need only the JUnit. So you might be thinking, how do you know you need the JUnit? So you look at the source code, okay, of your main Java com my company app. Can you see? It's a my package. Okay, so this requires a my package, the group ID name. So your source code doesn't require the JUnit. I think your test Java file requires the JUnit. Yeah, can you see this? It import JUnit. So I would need the JUnit library file because I have import statement over there. That's the reason JUnit is kept here. Artifact ID and which version? 381. And scope is optional, guys. So here the JUnit we are using only in the test phase. Okay, to execute the test. See, to compile my code, right? I don't want my test. See, if you want, I can just explain to you. Remove the dependency. Okay, remove the dependency and go back to your hello world. Okay, MVN, uh, where is my hello world? Just try to delete the target. Okay, guys, MVN compile. You just do the compile. The compile will be successful. There won't be any issues at all. Right? But MVN test compile. This will fail because you need the JUnit only when you're trying to compile the test compile, because the test file has the dependency. Can you see this? It is failing. Where is it? The build failure. Okay, it depends on the JUnit. Okay, compilation error. So you can find the actual error somewhere around here. See, package JUnit cannot find the symbol. That's it. See, does not exist. So that's the reason. If you provide the JUnit dependency, okay, now what will happen when you try to compile? Okay, it makes a reference of it will try to download that JUnit from your Apache repository and compile. Can you see this? It is successfully compiled now. Okay, just a second, guys. Guys, give me 2 minutes. Sorry, I just went away. Can you see my screen? Guys, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
So I was talking about the dependency section, right? So look at this. If I have this dependency, then only I can run my compilation and I can execute my test cases. So these are called the dependencies. It's a simple example for all over, and same thing will be applicable for a big project as well. Okay. Only thing is they might be having hundreds of dependencies. That's only the difference. But ultimately, the fact is, like, the Maven works such a way that your source code should be in the SRC, and you should mention all your dependencies, and you should provide the coordinates. The coordinates are your binaries. Okay, and look at this. By looking at these coordinates, I can tell you what is your binary name. Okay, so I will be getting the binary name of artifact ID. Okay, once you package it, okay, underscore, and my version number. Okay, right, dot, and your package type, which is jar. If you want, you can cross verify by performing a MVN package whether you are getting that jar file or not. Now I packaged, right? Now I'll be getting a binary of whatever I said. Now just go back here under targets. Guys, can you see this? Hello world is your artifact name. Am I right? Okay, which is artifact ID. Hyphen and 1.0 snapshot is your version. Okay, and dot jar. See, the dot jar not available here, but actually it's a type, file type. What is it? It's a jar type. Can you see this dot jar? So this is how it will create. So tomorrow it can be var, it can be 2.0, whatever, doesn't matter. So you need to target your binary name. Okay, so this is how the Maven is standardized, guys. Okay, so any library, any binary, the outcome of the Java project should be either a jar or a var. Okay, or any ER. So any of these three types. Most of the time this will be jar actually, because all the modules are the kind of a standalone applications. Okay, we'll see one var application as well later. Let's try to, like, finish off the rest of the stuff. Okay, now come back to your Maven instructions. So now you understand what is a format XML and what is a source code data structure. Okay, next thing, I'll explain this build stuff and repositories later. Okay, let me continue in a basic flow, then I'll come back there again. Okay, so next, once you understand a format XML, okay, so let's see a simple web app structure. Okay, a simple web application structure. Okay, so when I say web application structure, right, I said, like, yesterday there are around 1700 variety types of applications. Okay, so among them web application is also one type of application. Okay, so I just noted the type of the application over here somewhere in my document. Archetype. Uh, this is standalone. Yeah, this is for the standalone and this is for the web app. Okay, so for web app, right, when you try to run a generate command, okay, you can pass all your coordinates. Can you see coordinate group ID? Can you see coordinate artifact ID? Can you see artifact ID? Okay, this is what the type, Maven archetype web app. So this is what I'm trying to talk about. Okay, this is another type of application. So as per the web application structure, it will create the entire structure for you. Okay, interactive mode and all you can just ignore. This is optional. And version comes under, like, here you can give here and there is no problem at all. Okay, Control C, come on. Okay, now I'm trying to create a web application. Look at this. Now if it is a web application, what exactly the structure? Man practice is still creating this one. That's it. Okay, now it would have created a web application. Can you see sample web application and get into it? You can find source, form and all, but the difference here is get into the source main. Okay, can you see web app here and resources? So some different structure. Why web app? Because a web application is a combination of your dynamic data, which is .java files, and static data, which is HTML, CSS and web.inf, web.xml file. Can you see this? Okay, this is another type of application. So anytime if a developer is trying to start a new project, okay, they should like start by taking this kind of a structure and keep adding their source code files, so that they are incompatible with your Maven source structure. Okay, so now you look at the format XML also. So can you see this? It automatically created a var because it's a web application. Okay, it dependency and also everything is same stuff. It's auto generated one. So your skeleton of the script is ready. Okay, from here the developer will take care of, like, adding the new code, and it's if he imports new libraries, and he keeps adds his, those dependencies under the dependency section. Okay, so this is another type of application. Earlier on is a standalone, this is a web application. The build part I cannot show you here because this guy created it, but he didn't provide any example, guys. It is empty. There is no Java files. Okay, he just given only the static content. There is no Java files out there. So I have another application. I'll try to explain that once we're done with the repositories concept. Okay, fine. That's about the web application structure. Next, what? Okay, let me look at my document. What is the sequences? Okay, I need to explain you how this validate works. Okay, downloads the dependencies, right? So if you look at the Maven lifecycle phases, okay, I said the validate will download the your JUnit libraries and all. Okay, that's true. And how it works, it tries to download under your user section. I mean your home. Okay, my home is C, where is it? Users. Okay, and my name. Okay, so this is what my home, guys. Okay, under your home location, Maven by default downloads the libraries under user home. Okay, this can be Linux or Windows, doesn't matter. Here it will create a folder called .m2. .m2 is a folder name. Under this location it tries to download it, guys. It's a default location. Okay, now you look at it, under here you can find .m2 directory. This is automatically created. So this was the location. So it creates a directory called repository. Okay, so the name is repository. Okay, so under this it downloads all your libraries, whatever the dependencies you have, it will download. So JUnit is already there. I'll try to delete this. Okay, once I deleted, right? So suppose if you have a dependency, look at this here, .xml, you have a dependency here, right? JNet, and just have, there is no JNet directory here. Now you try to perform man practice hello world MVN compile. You just try to perform compile. It automatically downloads from internet actually, which is Apache repository. Can you see this? It is downloading. Okay, it is downloading the JNet from the internet. And you remember, once it is downloaded, it just keeps you here. That's it. Okay. When you run second time, right, it will not download. It just checks your local repository and makes use of it. Okay. Did you get it? So that's the reason always the first time builds are little slower because it tries to download all the libraries. Second time onwards, they're pretty fast because it looks for that library in your local machine, your .m2 directory. It will not go to the internet and all. So it will go to the internet only if it doesn't find in your local repository location. Okay, that's how the Maven lifecycle works, guys. Okay, especially with respect to dependencies. Okay, now this .m2 location, we call it as a local repository. Okay, now similarly, suppose, okay, I'll give a situation to you. Develop, okay, I think this is not required anymore. Okay, don't say. He is a developer A, he is a developer B. Dev A, Dev B. Okay, now this guy is developing hello world.jar. Okay, right? So now this guy is developing funny.jar, some jar file, guys. Okay, now the situation here is to build the funny.jar. Okay, he has a dependency of depends on hello world.jar. You're getting my point. Now in his XML, so in his XML, he needs a hello world.jar to build the funny.jar. Okay, so nothing but what happens here, if you put a dependency, right, your Maven default goes to this was the internet. Okay, so Apache repo, it looks into the Apache repo in the internet. It directly hits the this internet, okay, and looks for the hello world here, right? That's what your Maven lifecycle, hello world. Okay, if this guy tries to build it, but actually, do you think it can find a hello world there? Okay, no. Who will keep the hello world? This is your company's, your local, your colleague developed it somewhere around, like, within your organization. Am I correct? This is within your organization. This guy developed. How can you expect that in the internet, some repository, right? So what will happen? The DevOps guys, I mean this guy's build will fail. It will fail. Okay, saying can't find the hello world jar file. That's what happens. Okay, right. So example, let's play around with this XML only. Look at this. Assume this is group ID is JNet and artifact ID is something hello world. Okay, let me just give it a try. Let's see what will happen. It looks for the hello world somewhere. Can you see this? It is looking for there. Is it downloaded? Yeah, no dependency information available. Okay, the POM for JNet hello world is missing. Just a second, guys. Let me give something like 32 version. Remove the scope. Okay, see, it fails to download because there is nothing like hello world, that version and all in the Apache repository. That's what happens with this guy case. Now in these scenarios, what is the solution? See, if you apply a logic, simple logic, the solution here is you have to ask this guy, okay, this guy directly, would you please provide me your jar file? Okay, would you please provide me your jar file to me so that I can keep it into my .m2 location, okay, hello world .jar, so that his build will be successful. Okay, this is what the solution, first solution. Okay, so this solution works out because your Maven first, where exactly it looks into, guys? First it looks into your .m2. Okay, first look. Okay, if it didn't find here, the second look will be your uh, internet. Okay, your Apache repository. So if in this time, at this point of time, you already copied hello world jar by borrowing it from your developer A, and you kept it here. Now it looks into the first attempt, the build will be successful. But this is for one time. Think about the developer A, hello world, he's keep on like developing new code and he's generating new versions. Okay, every time in a day, suppose he did it like 100 times. Okay, new versions. Okay, 100 times this guy is supposed to share the jar with this guy. This is with two developers. Think about tomorrow in your project you have 100 developers. Okay, so and they are to exchange their libraries between them. Do you think it is that easy to exchange the libraries? It is really cumbersome process. Okay, so nobody understand which version is there with them. Okay, whether it is the latest or not latest, they don't know. So it's really going to be really confusing for the developers and the guys who manage the builds as well. So that's a tedious solution. The solution is there, but it's a really complex and cumbersome solution and not going to work out in the real world. If there are only two developers, then it may work out. Okay, they will be having mutual understanding, but tomorrow there are 100 developers, impossible. Okay, that's where we have a binary repository concept in Maven. Okay, so now I need to explain you this binary repository concept in Maven. Okay, then this is going to be a solution for our problem here. Okay, so the solution is a binary repository concept. Now what exactly binary repository concept here is? See, take a riser. If you understand the concept, that's it, guys. Technically it is easy because understanding the concept is most important, how it is working and all. If you understand this, you read any book, any website and all, it's pretty easy to go to the the technical stuff. The base is most important. uh, uh, this is what internet stuff, guys. Okay, now what we will do it, okay, we will try to introduce a server within our organization. This is within our organization, right? Okay, and this server we call it as a remote repo. Okay, so remote repository, this we call as a remote repository. So what exactly this server is? See, just like how Apache is maintaining a repository, similarly we will maintain our own local repository, sorry, our own remote repository, not local, guys. Okay, so what will happen if this developer A is done right? Okay, instead of he sharing with the B or he sharing with the somebody else, okay, we'll ask developer A to, guys, you push it to your remote repository. This is something like let me say, give an example to you guys. uh, what do you call treat it like within your college you have a library. Okay, so instead of you exchange the books, right, you keep the books in a library and somebody will come and will come to the library and take it. It's a kind of a central point. Okay, so sharing locations. So you push your library to, your library to your remote repository, and this developer, okay, will pull it from your remote repository. So he no need to talk to you, he no need to contact you. Okay, so whenever you're done with your version, right, you just push it to remote repository. So these guys will automatically, they point this remote repository location, okay, in their pom node XML, so that they no need to worry about copying from someone or downloading from someone. Your pom node XML will take care of downloading from your remote repository. Okay, now let me give you concept. First of all, whenever you run your pom node XML, right, okay, the first look is into your local repository, that's for sure, and the second look is, okay, into your central. Okay, this is called public repository, guys. The internet, whatever you see, public or central repository. So second, it looks into your public repository as usual, like earlier one. So this is what your second look. Okay, and so earlier, right, when once its second look is done, it fails because if it did not find in the local repository, okay, so this is what your local repository. Let me write down this as well. This M2 is your local repository within your machine, okay. Local repository. So your Maven lifecycle, how it works, it first looks into the .m2 local repository. If it finds, it's good. If it did not find, it goes to the public or central repository in the internet, okay, and tries to download. If it did not find here, okay, and the third is going to be your remote repository. Third look, okay, so it looks into the your remote repository, and your POM will find your hello world.jar in the remote repository because your friend is keep pushing into your remote repository. Not only your dev friend, there might be like some other developer, okay, so C developer, D developer, everybody will point to the this repository, okay, and they mention. So whenever you are you have a remote repository, right, you need to mention in your POM.xml about your remote repository details. Okay? That's a simple minimum information you need to give it, okay. If you don't give that information, it stops at central repository only, okay, it will not look into the remote repository. So remote repository is like within your LAN you are maintaining your own companies, your own colleagues libraries in a single location, okay, and this is called a binary repository. You got my point. There are, if you look at your Maven concept, right, there are total 3 types of repositories. Binary repositories, okay, there are 3 types of repos in Maven, okay. One is local repo, okay, which is also called .m2. This is created automatically, okay, you don't need to do anything. Automatically when you run Maven lifecycle commands, okay, or Maven phases, you can call it as a Maven phases, right. This you are aware of it, local m2, okay, .m2 directory, okay. And there's one more repository called Apache, or you can call it as a central or public repository, okay. And this you don't need to create, guys, this is already there, and Apache people are maintaining in the internet wherever you are there in the world, okay. So this is typically used like on a second attempt. Okay, what exactly happens, if Maven did not find, dependencies in .m2, okay, then it looks into central repo, okay. So it reaches into the central repo and it hits here, and make sure you have an internet connection, then only it can hit it to your central repository. If you don't have internet connection, your build will fail, guys, okay. Third, okay, this is called a remote repository, okay, and this is created by you within your organization. This is created within organization, okay, within organization, okay, to share the internal libraries, okay. And one more thing, guys, the advantage of it, this is you no need to share your libraries with your public repos, and it is not safe also. As per security, you should do it within your organization. You should not like share your binaries outside your organization, okay. And these remote repositories we can set up within our organization with the help of some tools are there, okay, to set up the remote repositories. So those are Artifactory, okay, Nexus, there's one more, the Archiva, some tools are there, okay. So with the help of any of these tools we can set up the remote repository, okay. Now that's what we are going to do it right now. We are going to set up the remote repository, okay. So let's set up the remote repository with the help of Nexus, guys, okay. And the full name is Sonatype Nexus remote repo, okay. Now I'm going to set up a remote repository, okay. Now this remote repository typically we set up on the Linux machines, okay, so we can do it anywhere, guys. So let's go to the Sonatype one, Sonatype Nexus. You can make use of Artifactory as well, there is no harm in it. Sonatype Nexus, where am I? downloads, Nexus repository. Guys, can you hear me? Did you see any disturbance? Windows, download this.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
No disturbance.
So I'm trying to download this. Guys, you can try for Linux as well, but my Linux is not up, it seems right now. So I'm just download the Windows one itself. Oh my god, 136 MB. It's huge. Let me look at my downloads, guys, whether I have any Nexus ones. Nexus. Sorry, no, it's not that. It's really painful to wait. But anyway, it seems to be faster. 5.2, 5.3 MB. Cool. Yeah, let it complete. Meanwhile, I'll talk something else. Okay, instead of wasting the time. So once this is ready, we'll set up the Nexus. Okay. So before that, come back to your lifecycle phases. Okay, let me talk about the install phase. Okay, what exactly install phase is? See, once your jar file is ready, okay, in your hello world, your jar file is ready, right? Hello world dot whatever this thing. Okay, once this is ready, so if you wanted to, like, push it to your remote repository, okay, first of all you have to keep that jar in your local repository. What is a local repository, guys? .m2, right? So C users, okay, and .m2 com dot, you don't have anything here. What is my com dot my company, right? You don't have your hello world, your own application library is not there in your local repository. So now what I will do it, I will try to run MVN install. What exactly install will do it? It performs all the prior phases as usual. Okay, something went wrong. Okay, I think we need to correct the dependencies, guys, this week. Okay. Okay, so it runs all the prior phases as it is, and it tries to deploy your package into your local repository. Okay, I'll show you where exactly it is. The last step is going to be, like, it deploys into your local repository. Okay, it's done. Can you see this? These two lines. Edit mark. If you observe these two lines, okay, it is trying to deploy your hello world .jar file to where C users .m2. Can you see this? Now it would have created the com my company folder and all. Okay, check it out, guys. Can you see com my company is created and hello world is created, and can you see the version and the jar file name? That's it. So the install will push your jar file to your .m2 local repository. You might be thinking, what's the purpose of this? What you will gain by pushing over here? Nothing, guys. In case, okay, so you have a hello world over here, right? Maven practice. This is what hello world. Okay, so tomorrow you have one more project. Okay, with you're only working the project B, also you're working. Assume, like, the project B also you're working. Okay, so you may need the hello world dependency, right? If you have the dependency, right, you can write the dependency so that your Maven will default look into your .m2 location. Okay, so it no need to connect to your remote repository or public repository. It can find it on your local machine itself. So that's the reason, if you try to keep it in your local repository, it is always handy to all your other projects. Okay, and not only that, when you try to run the other lifecycle command, which is deploy, what exactly deployment is? This will push library from .m2 to remote repository. Okay, so what exactly I'm trying to say, you look at the documentation. So suppose you have .m2 here. Okay, .m2. So you have a hello world.jar. Okay, so from your workspace, assume, like, this is what your workspace nothing but your folder directory, your target folder. Okay, your workspace. Okay, so from your workspace, the library, which is your hello world.jar, you are pushing it to .m2 with the help of a phase called install phase. Okay, this done by install phase. install phase. Okay, now the same thing, the whatever the jar is there, if you wanted to share it with your remote repository, right, so that can be done with the help of the deploy phase. Okay, so if you run maven deploy, that will push from your .m2 to your remote repository, not from your workspace, guys. Okay, remember. So as usual, when you run deploy, it will definitely run install, because I said any maven phase, when you're executing, all the prior phases will be executed. Okay, so what is install is deploy to local repo. Okay, and that is all installed. Deploys, this will push library to from .m2 to remote repository. So now to push it to remote repository, I want my Nexus or whatever the system should be up and running. Until and unless that is done, I cannot do it. Okay, and one more thing, one second, let me close my WhatsApp. Okay, so one more thing is, if you to set up this remote repository, right, see the first look, second look, the local repository and central repository, you don't need to mention anything on your pom.xml. Okay, so you can just leave it as it is, default works, right? But if you wanted to push it to your remote repository, you need to add one more section which is called repositories. Okay, you need to add one more section called repositories. Okay, that's what I talked just before. Where am I? Yeah, I told you, right, in your Maven Phonetic symbol, one more section called repositories. So the importance of repositories is to, like, mention about your remote repositories. Okay, now what exactly we need to mention over here, I'll try to explain you now. Okay, so here there are again in repositories two types of repositories, guys. Okay, I mean in remote repositories. Okay, so here in remote repositories there are two types of repositories. One is snapshot. Okay, and another is release. Okay, I can get the exact tags by googling it. It's not a pretty big deal. Next is repository pom.xml tag. Some keywords, you should be able to get it. Yeah, this is what distribution. Sorry guys, it's the parent folder name is distribution management. Okay, I said repositories, right? It's a distribution management. Okay, so under this, one is a release repository, one is a snapshot repository. So if you see normal repository, nothing but this is what the release repository. If you see snapshot repository, nothing but it's a snapshot repository. Okay, so he is giving some ID and URL. You might be thinking, where can I get this ID and URL? So this you can get it only once your uh, this Nexus is up and running. Okay, so I'm just waiting for that. So once that is up and running, we can directly, like, add the URLs and we can push your binaries to your repository. Guys, any questions still here? Were you able to follow? See, in this there won't be much coding, it's only a concept. Any queries?
Hello?
Yeah, Mahinder.
What exactly the snapshot mean in the version?
I'll explain. Once that is up and running, I can give you the difference between what is a snapshot, what is a release and all. Okay, apart from that, till now, like, the phases, format.xml, all this stuff, are you clear?
Ah, yes.
Okay, good. So I'll explain you that types of repositories. Okay, fine. So I'll not waste the time. Let me explain that as well. Okay, before it gets downloaded. So what exactly a snapshot, a release repository is? A snapshot is a development progress build. Okay, a release is nothing but ready to release build. Okay, now let me give you understanding. Suppose if you're working on a proper release cycle, okay, so from Jan to June you work, okay, I mean you work for one release, okay, and in this one release you release the first version, 1.0 version, you release this, okay. So now this 1.0 is the official release version and people can use it and it's a stable one, okay. Now this is what the developer is jar file, right. Now in the same team there is one more guy is working, okay. uh, that guy started his work from in the month of February, okay, and he is going to release by September, okay, right. Now while he's working, right, he wants, okay, he wants in the month of March, he wants a dot jar file. You are getting my point. In the month of March he wants a dot jar file, but did a release the jar file at 1.0? Not yet. He is going to release in the month of June. So do you want these guys to wait until the June? No, his timelines will be crossed. So instead of that, this guy, the B guy can ask, okay, whatever is ready by this time in your area 1.0, whatever is ready by that time, please share me that. I can adjust with that, whatever the code you completed. So maybe here the 1.0 is not completed, it's a partial completed. The partial completed jar files we call it as the snapshots. Okay, so any time before this session, that we call it as a snapshot one. Okay, once we officially release, that we call it as a proper release version. Okay, now in your remote repository, which is Nexus repository, you can maintain two types of repositories. So see, this guy can release a snapshot every day, there is no harm in it. Okay, whatever the amount of code is completed, he can keep release it. Okay, and he can keep release all these binaries, okay, into a snapshot repository, and once he completes the entire release, okay, and this is the official release, then he will release that into the release repository. That's the difference between a release and a snapshot. Okay, now this guy, suppose somebody C is there, okay, and this guy C is there, this guy wants b.jar. A B also can release it into a snapshot repository. Once B is done, he can officially release the release version. So for every binary there are two versions. One is the official release version, one is the development version. The development version we call it as the snapshot version. Did you get the difference between both of them, the snapshot and release? Mahinder?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
so now once the
Yes, yes.
Nexus is up and running, we'll create two repositories. One is snapshot, one is release. So that's the reason in our permanent XML we put one is a release repository, one is a snapshot repository. So at build time we can define on which repository you want to push it. Again, you might be asking a question, how do we define whether we need to push it to release or snapshot? So that's where the version comes into the picture. Can you see 1.0 snapshot? If your version contains a string called snapshot, it default goes to your snapshot repository. If your version contain 1.0, it default goes to release repository. Did you get it? Okay, so
Okay, okay.
yeah, in your
Yes.
version, yeah, anywhere it contains snapshot, it goes to snapshot. In your version, if it contains 2.0, okay, and 0.1, anything it contains, it goes to the release repository. That's how your Maven works.
Okay.
Okay, it's almost done, guys. I can show you the live demo. Let me bring it up, the Nexus one. It's almost downloaded, 136 MB. Give me 5 more minutes. I'll just bring it up. I'll deploy and we'll stop the session.
Okay.
And pushing into remote repository can be done by your last lifecycle phase, which is your deploy. That's what I was trying to explain. Okay, the deploy will push it the library from .m2 to your remote repository. So the remote repository is your Nexus. So with this, we have 80% of our Maven is done. The life cycles are taking care of everything. Come on, how long it takes? 132 just for 4 MB. Anything is stopping or what? 133 just hang. Downloads. Come on, it become 9.6 KB suddenly. What the hell? Just a second, guys. I think some torrents would have enabled suddenly. How long? Another 1 MB. I'll make sure next time or else I'll download the softwares before I start the session so that we don't waste time. Okay, finally. So refresh. So here it is your Nexus. Control X. Go to DevOps. Maven practice. Just extract off here. I try to extract this 7-zip. Same thing I have to do it in the Linux also. Okay. So type Nexus 3. Oh, they changed a lot. Actually, this is the latest one, right? I've gone to the 2.7 version. It's a 3.2. Let me see where is the. You can find some start button. Yeah, here it is. Okay. Try to open CMD. Nexus.exe. Just run it. Has it started running or what? Okay. Let me double click and see. Nothing. Nexus. Is not organized. So come on. These guys change a lot. Public cherry. Okay, guys, seems to be I downloaded the wrong one. Maybe I would have checked the right one. So I'll check it out, guys. It's not a right installer. Don't worry. So I'll try to download that and keep it ready. I'll show you the demo in tomorrow's session. Okay. And tomorrow, guys, Saturday, right? So are you available in the daytime? Anyone? Afternoon time? Your afternoon. So now I can finish it off in the afternoon itself instead of night. It's up to you. I'm fine in the night as well.
Yeah, I'm available.
Yes,
Okay, so and Vamshi, for you it will be morning. You there, Vamshi?
Yeah.
So can you tell me one thing? let's see